What's the best diet for mental health? Is it a paleo diet? Is it keto, carnivore, or should you try going vegan? Well, today I'm gonna rank 7 popular diets from absolute worst to my number 1, which you may actually be surprised by. Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a clinical nutritionist, and this channel is all about optimizing your diet and your lifestyle for better mental health. So if you're wondering, who am I to rank these diets? Always a controversy. A few quick things you should know about me is that, 1, I'm a full-time functional medicine nutritionist that has worked in clinical practice for several years, and while I've worked with hundreds of individuals on various diets, I don't subscribe to any particular diet for overall health. 2, all of the research that I do, as well as all of the content that I create for this channel, is specific to mental health, so conditions like depression and anxiety. So we're not just ranking diets for fun today, although I hope it is fun, but we're specifically ranking diets for how they support the intake of nutrients that I believe that most people really need or are lacking in when they struggle with their mental health. Number 3, I am 100% biased. You're biased, we're all biased, but my bias is based off of relevant experience that you probably want someone creating this video to have. So let's do this. And let's have some fun while we do this. Diet camps are often super serious, but let's lighten the load a little bit because these diets can totally handle the shade that we're gonna throw at them. Diet trolls, welcome. All right, number 7, coming in the worst place, drum roll please, is the standard American diet. Yes, your classic SAD diet. And if you're thinking, that's not a popular diet, well, it actually is because it's what a lot of people eat. And unfortunately, this diet can make you very, very sad. The SAD diet is lacking in most micronutrients because we get micronutrients from fresh whole foods. What this diet does have going for it is a lot of harmful substances, like food additives, preservatives, artificial sweeteners, basically things made in a lab, that when we eat them, our bodies are like, what is this? Basically, it's just not real food. The reason why I'm reiterating this today is because consumption of these foods or processed foods up to only 30% of your total dietary intake has been associated with long-term depression. I will leave a video that I have on this study in the description. I don't think we need to say anything more about SAD, so let's move on to number 6. And number 6 is bound to have quite a bit of controversy, and that is a vegan diet or veganism. And you know, if eating animal products causes you a lot of psychological distress, then obviously that's not going to be great for your mental health either. But from a nutritional standpoint, when I'm looking at the nutrients that someone needs most in their diet to support optimal brain health and mood, this diet is not so great. Listen, did you know that I used to be a vegan? That was an interesting time. I was a vegetarian most of my life and then a vegan for several years until I was in my worst physical and mental health. So yes, once again, biased, but I actually have been there. I get the many layers, I get the challenges, but I should also be clear that this segment of the video is not meant or intended to try and change a vegan's mind. Yeah, that's a losing battle. But is more for the person who has considered it because of either the various health claims or maybe they've watched one of the various vegan propaganda films on Netflix. So while there is, of course, a spectrum of veganism, you could be a junk food vegan, which would actually be worse than the standard American diet, or you could be one that only eats whole foods and actually gets a good amount of micronutrients in your diet. Many of the nutrients and foods that I really have people focus on for better mental health, like adequate protein, omega-3 fats, high amounts of B vitamins, minerals like iron and zinc, either don't exist or are not as bioavailable in plant foods. A vegan or vegetarian diet that eliminates all animal food sources cannot meet certain nutritional needs like B12, for example, without supplementation. But other common nutrient deficiencies that may arise from avoiding all animal foods are B12, vitamin D, omega-3 fats, calcium, zinc, iron, magnesium. And just meeting protein requirements alone can be an issue for some, as well as certain amino acids like carnosine and creatine. At the end of the day, if you already are vegan, there are a lot of ways to boost your nutritional status for better mental health. I've worked with several vegans, but I wouldn't choose this diet knowing that it's going to require a significant amount of effort and likely more supplementation than any other diet we're going to talk about on this list. Okay, so number 5, swinging extremism in the other direction. Number 5 is the carnivore diet. Yeah, carnivore. Even though you're super trending right now, you're still number 5. I am pretty trending right now. Listen, all jokes aside, the carnivore diet isn't completely outside the realms of what could be considered a therapeutic or effective diet in clinical nutrition. But the thing that you should know about most therapeutic diets is that they're meant to be short-term. What we're after for in this list is a sustainable dietary approach that's going to work for you. Carnivore diet works great for some people, but I will let you know from those that I've worked with, most people feel great on the carnivore diet because they have some kind of extreme digestive disorder or another condition. And the diet is essentially like the closest thing you can get to fasting or not really eating at all. But I'm gonna be real with you for a minute. The people that I've worked with on the carnivore diet, I've worked with because they really want to get off of the carnivore diet, even if it is working for them. Like, they wanna eat plants. Well, I'm glad the carnivore diet contains adequate protein and other essential nutrients needed for your brain and mental health. We do need to be cautious of potential deficiencies in vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin K2, calcium, folate, manganese, magnesium, especially if you're not consuming organ meats or a lot of organ meats as part of this diet. All right, number 4 is the Mediterranean diet, aka flexitarian, aka pescatarian, aka anti-inflammatory diet. Jess, those are different diets. But are they? Listen, this ranking was originally going to be a top 10, but I realized that the Mediterranean diet, the flexitarian diet, pescatarian diet, which is basically just like veg but you only eat fish, and the anti-inflammatory diet really all had the same foundation and kind of the same pros and cons. Now, the Mediterranean diet is pretty much the diet that has been studied the most in nutrition science. I remember when I was in grad school, the answer to like everything was, I know, the Mediterranean diet. The truth is that the Mediterranean diet gives people the most nutrients to draw from, so I'm less concerned about people being nutrient deficient on this diet. And then with the emphasis on seafood or omega-3 fats, healthy fats, nuts and seeds, these are all things that are great for your mental health. The reason why it's still number 4 is because the diet may actually be too broad for some and not actually eliminate some of the foods that can be problematic for those who struggle with their mental health. Wheat and grains is really the main category that I'm referring to here. And this is generally the same with like the anti-inflammatory diet, which is why I put all of these into one. I thought that that actually was gluten, grain-free, but when I was looking up examples, there are many anti-inflammatory diets that actually encourage the intake of whole grains as a foundation. In addition to gluten, there's no other elimination of other common food triggers or sensitivities like dairy, corn, or soy. But there are several studies, I will list them below, on the various benefits of adopting the Mediterranean diet or the Mediterranean lifestyle for better mental health. All right, we made it to number 3, which is the very popular keto diet. Remember when we did keto? I felt great. I was like so mentally alert. You also didn't have a period for several months. That's right. Listen, keto is a little similar to carnivore in the sense that it can definitely be incredibly therapeutic. But it's higher on the list than carnivore because we can still eat some vegetables and some other foods that give us just a broader spectrum of nutrients. And keto is actually a trending diet for certain psychiatric conditions right now. Maybe you've seen this Huberman Labs interview with Dr. Chris Palmer, a psychiatrist who utilizes a keto diet for certain psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia. It's a great video, I'll link it below. So the power of the keto diet is real, but it doesn't come without some special considerations. For women, their menstrual cycles, their fertility, hormones, etc. is definitely one of them. So this is a diet for me where I've always had to weigh the pros and cons and rank, as we're doing now, someone's health priorities. For example, if I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd go on a keto diet. If I had schizophrenia or another serious mental condition where other dietary interventions had not been helpful, then I would try it. But in my opinion, I would save something like this for when in fact other dietary interventions have failed or you haven't seen what you wanted. Remember again that we're trying to find something sustainable, and compliance is the biggest challenge with this diet. When people go off of the diet, they're generally not receiving the same benefits that they did before. A number of studies have also found that a ketogenic diet provides some optimal levels of many nutrients. These being B1, B7, B9, B5, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, calcium, chromium, copper, iodine, iron, magnesium, manganese, molybdenum, potassium, selenium, and sodium. This doesn't mean that this is going to be everyone's version of a keto diet. Even some of the healthiest keto dieters that I know still really need to pay caution to major minerals and their electrolyte status. While keto can be great, it may not be necessary for you or for many others. All right, number 2, we've made it to one of my favorite diets, yes, I'm biased, for people to build their diet off of, and that is the Paleo Diet. The reason why the Paleo Diet is ranked higher than these other diets is because it's taking some of the best components of everything we've seen so far. For a diet that is anti-inflammatory in nature, so it eliminates processed foods. It's not as strict as carnivore or keto, so you can have fruit and veggies, and I think it's much more doable and sustainable for this reason. But it's more strict than the Mediterranean or a general anti-inflammatory diet because it does eliminate many of those trigger foods that we were talking about before. So wheat, gluten, grains in general, and things like dairy and corn. Paleo is less focused on cutting out macronutrients like carbs or protein and fat, and is more focused on overall nutrient density. And what's cool about this is you can take this diet and make it whatever macronutrient template that you want. So you can eat very low carb or essentially keto paleo. Or maybe you're an athlete and you eat more high carb paleo with a lot of root vegetables and things like sweet potatoes. When I go through the dietary components, which are based off of the nutrients that most people need for their mental health, and then we look at the foods that these nutrients are highest in, it basically mirrors a paleo diet. Not 100%, but more so than other diets on this list. So adequate protein from bioavailable sources, healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, etc. Where I think this diet can be missing or lacking is that a very traditional paleo diet does eliminate legumes. Now, legumes is a different topic for another time. Let me know if you want me to do a video on legumes. Some people don't do well with legumes. This is really going to be people with IBS. They're hard to digest. But if you tolerate them well, they do have some cool properties and some good nutrients. And if you don't eat dairy, grains, legumes, and once again, aren't consuming organ meats, you may have a hard time getting a mineral called molybdenum. What is it called? Molybdenum. Am I saying it right? I don't know, that doesn't sound real. It is 100% a, yes, lesser known, but real mineral. All right, we finally reached number 1. What could it possibly be? Drum roll again, please. Number 1 is a personalized diet, or this is what we call in the nutrition and functional medicine world a personalized diet. Now, before you get all fired up or disappointed because I didn't say something completely ridiculous like fruitarianism, stick with me for a minute. As a nutritionist, I practice personalized nutrition, and I think that the best diet for people is going to be based off of many factors, like genetics, your current health conditions, and your goals. What's great about this is I do have a general sense of what your goals could potentially be because you're watching a video right now on the best diets for mental health, which is why we're doing this fun ranking thing. My goal for you today was that hopefully you learned something about the dietary trends that maybe you want to avoid or lean away from that aren't going to support your mental health, as well as the dietary trends that may be worth exploring or leaning into. But the truth is that you actually don't need to follow any diet to check a lot of the boxes of the nutrients as well as the foods that I discuss that people want to focus on for better mental health. Molybdenum. Chandler, how do you say it? Molybdenum.